Hola, mi gente. Sarah here again, talking to you today about a really big topic that happens around this time of year. Might be a little bit late to the game, but it's still relevant. The whole new year, new me concept. And this year, I'm choosing to do away with that. I am really thinking about I'm not reinventing myself this year, and I don't think I'm ever going to do that going forward. And I'll tell you why in a second. I just feel that there's so much pressure every year to feel like, oh my God, it's a new year. I got to do all these things. I got to achieve all these goals. I want to have all these results. And it actually creates a lot of additional pressure. And I feel often like I'm forcing myself to do things that don't feel congruent with where I'm at. And so there's three valid reasons why I feel like this is super important right now. It's really boiling down to self acceptance and accepting where you are, what you need right now, and what is the best way that's going to move forward for you instead of it being something where you're like trying to fit a mold and trying to become like this idea of you that although you may be aspiring to, which is great, but sometimes we just stack this pressure that all of this stuff has to happen in 1 year, and that's not really realistic. And then, there's another part that becomes a thing where you're like chasing results. It becomes something that it's all about like, I have to do all of these things, like check box, check box. And what is this really about? Is this about like feeling productive so you can feel important? Or is it really about like having these results so that you could feel like I'm doing something with my life? I don't think that having goals and setting objectives and having some real intentions is a bad thing. It's only bad when it starts to become something that is what is driving you. And it's like you're just going through the motions and doing it just to get it done. That's where it starts to become a problem because then it's like you're pushing yourself to do all these things, and it's like, is this really in alignment with what it is that you want for your life and where you're going? And is this really reflective of where you are right now? Because at the same token, while you're trying to achieve these goals and reach this future version of your life, you're kind of discounting the present version of you now. It's like you're not acknowledging who you are in this moment, what it is that you need, and you're like putting yourself into this scenario where there's a potential disappointment, there's a potential letdown because you may not be able to reach those goals in 6 months. Things may happen. You may find yourself no longer aligned to what you wrote back in December or January. And so it becomes somewhat of like, I don't want to say a trap, but I have felt like that in the past when I've been trying to achieve my goals and move forward in my life, and it's become something that I feel kind of bound to. And then if I go back and I want to change things, I kind of feel like I'm going back on myself. So I decided that I'm not going to do that this year. I don't want to feel like I'm falling behind. I don't want to feel like I'm pushing myself to be something that I'm really not yet. Um, and it's not to say that I don't have goals. I do, but they're more kind of realistic with where I am today and taking different types of, I guess, steps or making a different type of decision as I am moving towards my goals. It's not something that like I have to force it. I want it to feel more aligned with the path that I'm walking now. And another important thing is that often, a lot of the things that we go through in a year, whether they're good or bad, they're lessons. And inside of these lessons, there's so much growth. There's so much like wisdom that you acquire throughout the year. And I feel like we don't give ourselves enough credit to count that. And that is super important because that's not something that's tangible and it's not necessarily like a result, but those experiences, that level of wisdom, all of that still counts. And it's a form of development and growth for sure. And I think that I haven't been counting that part of my journey and my just my experiences in life. I don't feel like I have really been noticing the growth in that way to really see like, wow, I am moving towards the person that I want to be. And I am like changing these things in my life, but it's not like at this quantifiable or results driven kind of way. It's more of an organic, aligned experience that feels more like me. And so, this year I really am devoted to not reinventing myself and assessing where I am right now and deciding like, okay, what is realistic for me to achieve in this year? And maybe adding one thing where I need to kind of stretch a little bit and reach. But for the most part, I want to feel like I'm actually moving the needle and getting things done and not putting myself in all of this crazy pressure to achieve them because that pressure it was like really starting to tear me down. And I'm going to share a little bit about my personal journey. And at least in the last 2 years, I've had a lot of changes in my health. I have entered the lovely stage of menopause, and it has been no joke. I will probably make a video on that another day, but it definitely has made me changed my whole perspective on how I was living my life, the type of jobs, how much I was working, what I want to spend my time on, how I want to spend my time. My energy levels are not the same. And so, therefore, me trying to do all of these things on a daily basis to move this needle, even just be here on YouTube, right? Um, it's something that I've had to take a step back and reassess and say, you know what, I need to do this my way and forget about what all the coaches are saying, all the experienced people on YouTube or anywhere else, and like take what they're saying and like reflect upon it and take what works for me and the rest throw it out the window. Because honestly, I am really, really, really just trying to get through each day. And I want to make sure that I stay consistent, at least with that. And that in itself is a lot to manage. And so I don't want to push myself further than where I can actually physically go. But at the same token, it's not like I'm dragging my feet, so to speak, either, or like I'm skimping on my goals and dreams. It's just I'm being more realistic with what it is that I need and the capacity that I need to get there. And here's another important point is to understand that, like, your capacity, your lack of capacity is not laziness. So last year, I would say like the year before in 2024, I used to feel that way because when I first started having a lot of these health challenges, I started to feel like, oh my God, I got to push through. I'm being lazy. I'm feeling tired. And so I need to just get over it and I need to get things done. And I've come to realize that it's not about that. It's about understanding like this is how much output I can give and honoring that for myself and not putting myself into overdrive, which then aggravates how I'm feeling in the first place. So it was only creating more exhaustion, more stress, more discomfort instead of really being honest with myself and saying, like, you know what? I have the capacity to do, I don't know, 2 hours. And so I give myself those 2 hours, and then it's okay to like go rest. And it's okay to feel like I want to do something that has nothing to do with my business or YouTube or anything. And I had so much guilt around that. And I think that just comes from like my culture being a Latina, how we're like work, 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 you don't rest, you take care of everybody else, you forget about yourself, you're last on the list. And I definitely had that ingrained in my brain. And it was not helping me at all. It was actually making my health worse, um, significantly worse. And so I decided like I can't do it anymore. And even right now, there's still things that I'm looking to change and you know make. make it be more accommodating to how I'm operating right now with the amount of energy and how I've been functioning. And it's so crazy because you never think about like your health. You never think like, oh, one day I'm not going to feel well. And so I need to prepare for that. Or you never realize that all the work that you're doing, everything that you're trying to push for is actually aggravating and making you feel worse. And so I think that this year it's a lot of accepting, a lot of honoring my body, honoring how I feel, honoring like what works for me, and not looking at what everybody else is doing, not listening to every single thing that everybody says I should be doing because I've been spinning my wheels for so long that I'm deciding to shut off all the noise and do things my way. And that includes me not reinventing myself this year. And it's allowing myself to show up as is and be present and share my message and just be here with you guys in the best way that I can. And forgetting about all the other details because at the end of the day, your progress is going to be better when you're actually taking more care of yourself and you're getting what you need in order to be more successful. And so I, definitely feel that if you feel like you have to push, that's an indication that you have to pause. And that is always so true for me. Every single time I'm like, oh my God, I got to push myself. I really am like not feeling well. And I decide, like, you know what? I'm going to take a pause instead. I feel so much better. And it's so refreshing for me to be like, you know what? I don't know why I am putting all this extra weight on myself to do all these things when nobody, first of all, is waiting for me. Second of all, it's not like I'm letting anybody down. And third of all, it's not like I'm saying it's not going to happen. It just needs to happen differently. And so I invite you to explore this for yourself and think about, like, if you've already written your goals for this year, maybe even you go back and look over those goals and assess, like, is this really too much? Am I putting too much on my plate? Is this realistic for me? Maybe I need to break these goals down further. Maybe it's not something I could do in a year. Maybe it's something I could do in 2 years. And that's still important. That's still progress. And so, I think that as we move forward in our lives and as like our society shifts and women start to feel like they are coming back home to themselves. They are honoring more of what they need and letting go of the pressures that society has put on women. I find that we're going to find ourselves really feeling a lot happier, a lot healthier, and a lot more aligned, and as a result, more productive because of how we're choosing to manage our life and our energy and everything that we want to create. So, if you're interested in more conversations like this, please follow me. I would appreciate that so much to subscribe to my channel and like this video if you enjoyed this content. I'll be posting more content around this topic and just spirituality, embodiment, really like self love, self care, and all the things that will enable us to be um, the beautiful, lovely, exciting women that we're meant to be. So, thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next video.